Welcome to a Newsday Tuesday here on the Intercut podcast channel, where we talk about the latest in TV, movies, and entertainment that you just can't cut away from. I am your co-host Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he prefers the term "ooze." It's Arturo Zurita. Ooze,
I'm excited to be
ooze.
back after just streaming about the latest in movies and everything else that we have out there. And now we've got everything that is been paused practically with some Emmy nominations, but then also the reason for why a lot of the stuff is stopped at the moment.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance yet to really dive into a lot of the latest happenings in the world of entertainment because we took off a few weeks in July. But outside of just all the interesting movies and Barbenheimer of it all, uh, there's a bunch of other stuff going on in Hollywood that I feel like is worth at least talking about or figuring out where we stand on it. Just updating the situation,
In
but
terms of Sound
beyond.
of Freedom's box office, and really just the numbers.
I mean, it's really that pay it forward plan if we're really getting into it. But uh we want to talk Emmys, we want to talk strikes, and we want to talk about the news of Hollywood generally. So if there's any sort of movie news or announcement that you're particularly curious about, feel free to let us know
This
in
is
the
it.
live stream chat, and we'll get to it at some point in this hour or so. But why don't we kick it off with the Emmys? Because a little bit ago, almost a month ago at this point, the 2023 Emmy nominations were announced. A very stacked list of TV shows and some movies as well. Some things that I didn't realize were going to be eligible for Emmys, getting Emmy nominations this year. Interestingly, I don't know if there's a particular category you want to start with, if there's a particular reaction you had to the nominations. What was your big takeaway seeing the 75th Emmy nominees?
Well, early on, right before we went on our break in May, there was so many things that just bombarded it. Half of the shows that you see on here, Barry had ended during that time. Jury Duty had ended during that time. Only Murders is so old. They're talking about the second season when the third season's about to come up.
Mm-hmm.
But Ted Lasso had wrapped. The Bear came out just in time with all their episodes.
Actually,
Maisel,
that's
we're not even getting.
season one of The Bear. The Bear season two is not going to be eligible until next year's Emmys.
Really? It's one of those two.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Damn. Okay, so it's one of those like weird cycles, and that's why it's interesting that with the strikes that are going on, instead of it being a September show, they're thinking of maybe doing it in January, which to you and I, please, that would make so much more sense, and would also be a much better, I guess, just cycle in terms of like you'd have that in January. I think at the end of January,
The
if not
Emmys,
February, is
yeah.
in the Golden Globes, and then you would have the Oscars in March. I don't know. I just feel like award season should be this whole big push, not this extension of like the TVs getting it in September,
Right.
festivals, Gotham's, indies. It's too long. We don't need a 6 month Oscar season. I think we need a 3 month Oscar season.
Yeah, obviously, like the Emmys historically came in the summer because, like, traditionally the TV season window would be, new shows debuted in the fall and September, and then they
Yeah.
carried through the winter, and then would run until May. But that's when network TV was dominating the ratings. That's when most shows ran for 22 or 24 episodes and would go on for months and months and months. That was
It's
way
when
before
residuals were being paid.
then residuals were actually being paid fairly. It's way before the days of the binge release, and the
Yep.
model for how TV is consumed has
No.
changed drastically. Now,
Sure.
if I agree with you, if they do end up doing the proposed Emmys postponement, taking it all the way into January, so the Emmys, in a way, almost like kick off a lot of award season. That'd be great for
Yeah.
people like us who like to wait until December to make our lists and don't want to have to deal with Emmys eligibility
Easily.
windows when putting together videos like this one. But yeah, it would. I feel like it's totally possible, and maybe would be a smart move for the Emmys, considering that like the Golden Globes are going through their own issues right now, and it's kind of a way that the Emmys could maybe be part of the larger award season discussion and get elevated through that too. Because I feel like the hunger people have for watching an award show is maybe a little bit higher in like the colder months of January than it is in
Thank
August or
you.
September, when people have a lot of other things on their mind.
All I'm saying is that a playoff season should not be that long. It should not take half a year. They compile them all together, just like with the strikes, have them all happen at the
Mhm.
same time, and you will have more eyes on you. You cool starting with the acting? Let's start with the acting around the board, and then we'll get to the
Let's
bigger
do it.
ones.
Let's do it.
Comedy or drama?
Let's talk about maybe comedy first, because I know
All
there were
right.
some people surprised at some of the snubs in terms of comedy.
All right, we'll go right off the bat with the leads, which I think it's a pretty good crowd here. I don't know who you got coming out on top.
From the assembled, well, first of all, I feel like there's a little bit of category fraud that we got to talk about here, because do
Mm.
you consider The Bear to be a comedy?
You know, you and I have had this discussion for the longest time about when is it a
Yeah.
comedy, when is it a drama. This is Golden Globe rules. It can go either way. Um, no, but I also don't consider Barry at this point in time to be a comedy either. So,
At least it started as one, you know.
sure,
The
yeah.
I think this is like the Emmys doing that thing where they kind of put all half-hour shows into the comedy world, even if they're not necessarily full-fledged comedies. And
Hmm.
I think because of the role that Jeremy Allen Wright has as Carmy on The Bear, he just gets a lot of really meaty, dramatic moments that I don't know if like Jason Segel or Martin Short are quite getting a chance to live up to, as much as I love those performances. So
You're
speaking
saying
of
it's
which,
not fair, yeah.
yeah, I'm a little surprised to see Martin Short and not Steve Martin here, if they're picking one of the Only Murders in the Building men, but that's a whole other
Season one
discussion.
or two?
This is season 2. So I
Okay.
guess Martin Short gets a little bit more to do in season 2, but I love my boy Steve. Um,
To give some
I'd give
context,
this,
also, by the way,
yeah,
he did get nominated and won, Jeremy Allen White, for The Bear at the Golden Globes, as we were kind of
yeah,
saying in terms of them doing TV. They
and the
did put
Screen
it for
Actors
comedy there
Guild,
too.
yeah.
However, oh, I guess the satellite didn't decide. I'm trying to see like how many people decided to count it as a
SAG
comedy.
also, yeah.
So it's kind of been because sometimes we wonder, is this on the awards circuit or is this on FX? So
Right.
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, because like the show is funny, but I don't know if like it's quite the same thing as something like an Only Murders in the Building. Anyway, I
True.
would vote for Jeremy Allen White in this category. Are you going that way as well? Are you more of a Bill
I
Hader
think
person here?
I wouldn't mind Bill Hader, but I think Jeremy Allen White, if we're talking about season one and in particular that monologue that he had,
Yes.
it's his. It's in the books because what I heard is they didn't practice that. He just got into that state of mind and then just took it. Like he's saying it's not ad libbed, but he's like, it's a whole performance that we had leading into that big intro talk in therapy. And
Yeah.
for me,
And
it's his to lose.
and pointing out the seasons for which they're being awarded is worth noting too, because this is also season 4 of Barry, one in which Bill Hader
Takes a
recedes into the
backseat?
background for a lot of
Yeah.
stuff, and like
Yeah.
he's great in it too. But season 3, I thought he was remarkable on.
Hmm.
Season 4, I don't know if that's the one that I would give him the acting Emmy for. I go Jeremy Allen White
It
here.
would it would be weird to win one in January for one season and then like a whole year later win another one for the exact same season.
Right.
They do need to fix when these things get released, but yeah, well, I think that's 2 for Jeremy Allen on our end over here. In terms of comedy lead actress, who do you got here?
Interesting category, partially because again, I'm not sure why Natasha Lyonne is here. I feel like Poker
That's more
Face
of a
is more of a dramatic show. Um,
look, I think it's more mystery, and I think if they're going genre, they're gonna push it there. But yeah, it could go either way. She made me laugh way more than Jeremy Allen did. That's a fact.
yeah, that's true. I kind of would like to give her the award here. I think she is so much of what
Mm,
makes Poker Face special. I also feel like we should give a little bit of love to Quinta for her role on Abbott Elementary. I think
I wouldn't mind
she
seeing
gets
her
a lot
more.
of she gets a lot of credit for like writing that show too, but being the star of it, she does such a great
Hmm.
job. Uh, am I weird for, even though I don't watch Wednesday, kind of feeling like this should be Jenna Ortega's category to lose?
Yes,
Her
I know it
performance
sounds
defines the show.
It's the meanest thing to say, but there is no reason why Jenna should even be nominated, and I don't mind any of the other four ladies winning. I don't understand the hype for that Wednesday performance there, other than I guess the performance of having to fight the crew
The
running it
writers.
in order to be yeah in order to make it better. But even with the first two, I don't think Christina Applegate was the best in season three because I'm assuming this is season three.
Yeah.
Season one or two, ooh yeah, I would be arguing for her.
Yeah.
But even then, I think
Feel
it's better
like
than Wednesdays.
it's not unfair to say that's probably a an award partially just for her being there and giving her one
Sure.
last chance to get nominated considering her
To lose
circumstances.
though, so that's kind of corny in
Yeah.
my opinion. Whenever they do that, but Rachel Brosnahan, I want to say this is for four, not five, and I'm just wrapping up four. Hell yeah, that's my girl. And Lewis Lane right there, I would definitely go for her. But to me, it'd be between Quinter and Natasha. I think giving it to Natasha would be awesome because she had a lot to work with in Poker Face, and that'd be
Yeah.
awesome to give it that an Emmy.
Yeah. I think she's so good on that show too. So I would also love to see Natasha awarded here.
It would also help with future seasons if it's already an Emmy-winning show. So
Very true.
100% I'd go for that. Some of the other categories as well, going in between
Supporting actor in
supporting
comedy.
actor. Yep. We
Yeah. So
have an insane
this
amount of people. I
yeah,
didn't even
this
know
is
this
one
many
of the
people could be
ones,
nominated.
right? This is one of the ones where I am a little bit bothered by like their allegiance to certain shows.
Oh,
Like I don't know, man.
okay.
I feel like season 3 of Ted Lasso was
I
such a
think we
dip in
say
quality,
Barry.
and they got that two of them here. At least they only have two Ted Lasso actors
Yeah.
here, and unlike other categories where there's a whole lot more. But between the Barry actors and Eben Mouse Bacharach on the Bear, it's hard. I also really love Tyler James Williams on Abbott Elementary. This is a very stacked category.
To me, I would give it to. I wouldn't mind Anthony Kerrigan winning it for Barry. I preferred his to Henry Winkler, and I'm not saying Henry Winkler was
Yeah.
less than his because he had a lot to work with in season four. He was acting with an acting with an acting. Um, Tyler deserves it. But did you finish Jury Duty? James Marsden was on one, dude.
I
He
haven't
has
started
this
yet.
one bit where he's obviously performing in Jury Duty the story of it's a Freevee Prime original
Yeah.
where this dude actually goes to jury duty, doesn't realize he's being filmed for a reality show, and every single person is an actor. The people on trial, the people who are the jury, and even the judge himself. And he doesn't realize that everybody there, including actor James Marsden playing actor James Marsden, it's all fake. But James Marsden is also trying out for a role while begrudgingly going to jury duty and becomes best friends with the main guy. And he kills it, dude, because he's acting as a normal guy, trying out for a role of a normal guy. Dude, there's so much going on there. If
But
they gave it to him, that'd be awesome.
here's the thing. I haven't seen the show, so I'm not sure, but like does this feel like it counts? Like it almost sounds like more like a Jackass movie than
I
traditional acting.
find that fascinating as well because there are a lot of moments where it is scripted, like the guy's not involved. But
Yeah.
if you are involving the dude, is that a variety sketch show to some
Right.
degree? Hey, you and I always talk about category for I don't know, but I do think he was the funniest one if that's what we're going about. If not, then yeah, give it to Tyler James. Because again, I'd say that he definitely brought in most of the comedy. A lot of these are dramatic performances, which is funny, except for two of them.
Yeah.
Even
All right,
Cousin, I
so
love Cousin, but it's dramatic.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and the things that make me really want to give it to Anthony Kerrigan or Henry Winkler are their dramatic elements from
For
those
sure.
roles. I kind of am tempted because this is again about season 1 of The Bear and not season 2 of The Bear to give this one to Tyler James Williams instead of Eben Moss Bacharach.
And that would be for Abbott 1 or Abbott 2?
I think this is for Abbott 2.
Okay. He was really
Yeah.
good in Abbott 2.
I before we move on, is this the appropriate place to start talking about the Atlanta snubs? Because no Lakeith or Brian Tyree Henry here is ridiculous. I mean, maybe
It is
Brian
pretty
is more of a
ridiculous.
lead and he should have been there too,
Mm-hmm.
but
Maybe they started thinking it was an anthology show and they forgot where to actually nominate it.
I don't know. But yeah, the fact that Brian Tyree Henry gave that performance across 4 seasons of television and never once got nominated for an Emmy for it is absurd to me.
Especially in season 3. which I think also just because this would be
Hmm.
season four's year, but they also kind of ignored it for season three, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
So yeah, pretty
Or
rough.
even season
That
two when that show was like still a
no,
huge
no. Season two, the convenience store one, where he gets stuck
yeah.
and almost robbed outside. There is no reason because they do it by episode. There's no
Hmm.
reason he didn't get nominated for that specific episode. You heard the
Doesn't
behind
make
the scenes for
sense.
that too. Just lost his father
Yeah, yeah.
when he filmed that. I don't get that at all. But yeah, justice for Atlanta. Even you know what? For the final season, Zazie should have been
Yeah,
nominated. That's why. Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. For best supporting actress in a comedy, Alex Bornstein should not win. She has enough gold at home, and I don't think she needs more shelf space. So
Hmm.
I personally, if this is going for comedy, Cheryl Lee Ralph.
I was going to say one of the Abbott women is probably the front runner to me, at least. I think they're
Mm-hmm.
both just so funny. Um, Probably the best, the most comedic performances here. I really
Yeah,
love Jessica Williams on Shrinking. I'm glad she got the nomination. I
she
don't
was
know
good.
if she'd be my favorite to win it. And I really love as well for her performance from The Bear, but I might, maybe it's because I just saw season two, but I'd also be a little bit more inclined to give it to her for season two than season one. Um,
So you think everybody in season two of The Bear did better,
I would say
or at
that
least the supporting?
I would say that season one is really more focused on Carmi, and Jeremy gets more to
Mm.
do there. But that as season two like expands its scope and gives more time to all those supporting characters, that you're able to see them flourish a little more. So I'd say
Agreed.
Jeremy, maybe I prefer season one. Everybody else I prefer season two, but that's
Fair.
mostly because of the structure of the show.
Gotcha.
So
You
I would
finished
go
Ted
Cheryl.
Lasso,
I did finish Ted Lasso. Yeah, I mean,
and
look,
Barry now.
I like Juno and Hannah Waddingham both on the show. I don't think they had their best material this season. I wouldn't award
Mm.
either of them for this year. Um, you know, I do kind of think Hannah. I don't know if she's ever won one, so maybe she gets one because this is kind of the
I
final
thought
year
she,
of the show.
I thought
Maybe
she
she
did
did
win
one
one.
last year.
I feel like she won something, but it could have been a Globe. So
That's the
don't
thing
quote
is
me on
they
that.
run together
Yeah,
a little in my mind. I would also be happy to see Cheryl Lee Ralph win this one.
I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Or yeah, Juno Tempo from Killer Joe.
Are we going to the
Movies.
dramas?
Yeah. Well, no, we still got guest
Oh,
actors
guest
for a
actor, sure.
comedy series. I always forget the Emmys do that. So guest actors, that means they were here for what, two scenes? We have John Bernthal, the bear. I give a thumbs up there. I always like Luke Kirby in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. He plays like pretty much the mentor for her. He had a really good part in season four. So I'm very partial to him because he gives a fantastic piece of advice to Maisel like midway through the season. And if that's the guest performance that they're doing
Yeah.
that they're
He's
nominating him for sure.
the Lenny Bruce actor, right?
Yes, I like
Yes.
him a lot. I
Hmm.
don't know if I like him more than John Bernthal, so right now I'm still going John Bernthal. But talk to me about that Nathan Lane because this is Nathan Lane in multiple episodes.
I think he's in a couple episodes from Only Murders, and I really love his performance on that show. Like it,
Yeah.
he's always very good at giving you the sort of like uh, high comedy and like funny line readings, but there is sort of like a depth to his character that you get to see that I think is really good on Only Murders. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like he won the Globe or something for this role. He was oh no, he won an Emmy already for Only Murders last season. So that I
Really?
think was for his work on season one. This would be for his work on season two, where he had a somewhat smaller role. I don't think I would be surprised if he repeated. There was like a much bigger part for him to play in season one than he ultimately played on season two.
And
Um,
that's fair to say for John Bernthal because I also do agree with you.
yeah.
The fishes episode, he definitely has more to work with than he did in season one. So yeah, that's pretty fair.
Mhm.
Um,
I really
really
like
quick,
Oliver Platt on the Bear. I also would be okay with him winning
I
it.
also think him in season two was better.
That might be fair as well. Um, and you know Sam Richardson. I as much as I trash on Ted Lasso, his character is one of my favorites on that show.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just such a delightful guy. I also wouldn't be upset to see him win this. My vote would probably be to Oliver Platt though.
Okay, really quick, since you were on the Ted Lasso thing, we had just brought it up. Hannah did win already
There we go.
in 2021.
Oh, but she didn't
And
win for season 2, so
she did not run for season
we'll
2, but I
see.
remember she won for season
Something.
1 because she looked
Yeah.
fantastic when she won. I part of me thinks it might be Pedro Pascal because out of all of them, it answers the question of why Jury Duty was nominated for comedy. Because if that's already a variety, what's more variety than a Saturday Night Live spot? I was under the
Absolutely.
impression that sometimes they separate the host into something else, but looks like it's considered a guest
The
spot.
hosts go into guest actor. It's the
Ugh,
regular cast members that compete in supporting actor.
that
Um
makes no sense to me. But look, I, I think he had a standout episode. I don't think it's the best of SNL, but it was the most successful SNL episode I think that they had from that run.
yeah.
A lot of those sketches went viral, and I think he's got a lot more to work with there in terms of like what would be one sketch, which is one scene for somebody else as a guest actor. He had a bunch throughout that hour,
So
so I can see it
a,
going.
a lot of people who host SNL end up getting nominated for guest actor Emmys. I'm like looking through the IMDb right now.
So
Like
that's their
Brad Pitt,
go-to.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Adam Driver all got nominated for hosting. The only people who've actually won for hosting SNL in the last few years are
Dave
Eddie
Chappelle.
Murphy, Maya Rudolph, and yes, you got it, Dave Chappelle. So it's not exactly like a juggernaut in terms of producing winners in the category, but does produce a lot of nominees.
Man, you should be able to
I
put them into a
Yeah.
variety sketch one. Put them with like when the people guest host when Brie Larson was doing like the late night and all that. They should have their own category over there. But
Hmm.
I could see him maybe taking it. But you're locking in on Oliver Platt. I'm gonna lock in on John Bernthal then.
Nice.
All right, moving on to the last acting in comedy as a guest actress. We have Becky Ann Baker from Ted Lasso, Quinta from Saturday Night Live. Damn, double with her. Taraji
Mhm.
for Abbott. Ooh, Judith Light, Poker Face, Sarah Niles, Ted Lasso, Harriet Walter, Ted Lasso. I'm going Taraji in Abbott Elementary. She came in like a freaking powerhouse as her mother.
Oh yeah, Taraji would be a great winner here. I kind of want to go with Judith Light. She's so good on that episode of Poker Face.
Which one was it?
That's your favorite one, the old folks home.
Okay, I'm retracting my Abbott Elementary. You're right. I do like that one.
Yeah,
Yo,
you
where's
do.
her partner though? How
Uh,
can you have that? Was a twofer of a performance there.
yeah,
That is my
yeah.
favorite episode. Ooh, that'd be dope.
Uh,
Okay, never mind.
should we put a limit on how many guest
Ted
actor
Lasso
slots one show
for
can get?
for Ted Lasso. Bro, is Harriet Walter from Succession?
Yeah, she's nominated both in guest actor for comedy and guest actor for drama.
Wow, good for her. Damn. Yeah, I'm going for no Ted Lasso wins here. Let's go Poker Face or Abbott Elementary right there.
Let's do it.
Damn, Judith Light. Okay, I do want to go for her then.
We're being real
That
mean
wraps
to
up.
Ted Lasso. I'm gonna stop being mean to Ted Lasso.
Well,
Well,
he's gonna
maybe not.
say that until we get into the next one. Well, he is gonna
Yeah,
pause for right now because we're moving on to the drama, starting with the
let's
lead
do it.
actors over in all of the dramatic series of last year. I mean, it's gonna come down to Succession before we get to the limited again because I think the White Lotus got to dupe them one last time. For right now, it is really a battle of the HBO and what Succession or FX and one AMC show. Are you giving it to Bob Odenkirk for the finale, if I'm not mistaken, of Better Call Saul?
I kind of want to. Like if this is what I'm gonna vote for with like my ballot that I don't get sent, I might do it. I thought Bob Odenkirk was so good in that final season of Saul, but I kind of doubt anybody is going to beat Kieran Culkin. I that might
There we go.
seem
Thank
strange
you.
given that Brian
Thank you.
Cox and Jeremy Strong have been these like juggernauts and are probably the biggest names attached to the show, but they moved Kieran into lead from supporting for a reason,
For a
and that's
reason.
because he gets so much meat on the last season of Succession.
Yes, he
His
does.
performance is the most memorable. His character's arc is the most memorable of the final season, even though it really centers more on Jeremy Strong as Kendall. I still think that Kieran takes this one. He's so good.
Three things. One, Jeff Bridges and The Old Man. I do recommend. I think it's a pretty good show. Catch that if you can. Two, if Brian Cox wins, that is the funniest win of all time. I'm just gonna leave that there. Y'all know if you know.
Yeah,
But one,
and
everything's Zach set for Kieran. He was a different facet of that Roman
Hmm.
character in every different episode. From thinking that he's got the balls to call out Skarsgård's character to the funeral scene. Just an incredible moment in that funeral scene. In Haunted Mansion there is a character who is thrown to the side, one of the ghosts, because they cried at the funeral. I was like, damn, they Roman Royd him. So it has fully become an adjective for me. I agree with you. Jeremy Strong and Brian Cox may have been like the footholds of that show, but there's a reason they upgraded Kieran to
Yeah.
lead, and it was the best one. Now, mind you,
Are
I haven't finished Better Call Saul though, so that's why.
are you upset at all that they used a slot here on Brian Cox that could have gone to somebody else? And maybe if they
It's
put Brian
weird.
Cox
It's
in guest
weird.
actor, he would have swept that category.
Is this the season where he said you are all not serious people?
Yeah.
Then I guess he delivered that line really well. But I don't know. At what point is it a guest performance?
Yeah. When he doesn't get paid for all of his appearance for every
No, he
episode.
got paid. He got paid for all of it. But I guess
Exactly.
they also paid the Emmys to
Got
make sure
paid
that he
like a
was in
lead
there.
actor. They're going to campaign him in lead actor.
Damn. Are we both locking in for Kieran though? Or are you gonna go Bob?
Yeah. Now let's go with
Kieran.
Kieran.
Beautiful. I really do think it's his to lose. He deserves it. In lead actress, again, I know we're gonna have a lot of Succession girls here, but Bad Sisters. Did you ever get to finish that on Apple TV
No,
Plus?
but I know people really love that and were upset that it didn't get some more love from the Emmys.
It should get more love from Intercut as well. So we will have that one on our radar before the show. Yellow Jackets, which we had love for it. It just dwindled a little bit, but Melanie Linsky, they wrote her interestingly in season
Yeah.
two. Yeah, I don't know how
I
we
would have
both
been
feel
okay
about
with
that.
her not being in here, to be honest, for season 2.
Handmaid's Tale still going on. I believe this is for its final season, or is it continuing? Because I know it's a long book
I
series.
think that's for its final season.
Okay. For me, I have not seen Kerry Russell in The Diplomat, so it is coming down to Bella Ramsey in The Last of Us, who I think put the better performance over Pedro in the season one, and Sarah Snook in Succession. Like, I want to give it to Sarah Snook, but I can see them giving it to Bella Ramsey and that being the one big award that The Last of Us takes. I don't know any
Hmm.
more of the tech awards that they're going for, but Sarah Snook kind of ate up season four. Her and Tom,
Yeah.
who I'm assuming is supporting now,
Yeah, he's in
or been.
supporting. He's in supporting. I mean, look, they
Okay.
just need to submit that one episode where they had that huge fight, and I don't know if
Outside
there's
on the
going to
balcony?
be exactly
Yes.
anybody is going to be able to compete
Yes.
with that one. Elizabeth Moss has taken this award a lot of times in the past. That show's kind of had its day. I think that
Mm.
the nomination is the best she's going to get. Bella Ramsey, I wouldn't be surprised if she is the front runner to win for season 2. And I also wouldn't be
Okay.
surprised if she won for this year too. Like the Emmys love to crown somebody a little early. I mean, maybe the Golden Globes a little more than the Emmys, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a surprise. But I'm like you. I'm gonna go with Sarah Snook. She's
Sarah
so
Snook.
good on that final season of Succession.
Sounds good. Into the supporting for the dramas. What the heck is this, bro? I don't even understand this at this point, but here it is. White Lotus and Succession, and White Lotus, and then Succession, and then White Lotus, and then Succession, and then
Yeah,
White
maybe
Lotus, and then
this is the
Succession.
category where we should talk about like if there should be a limit on how many people can be nominated from one show, because on the one hand I don't like the idea of limiting who can get awards,
Right?
but on the other hand, are we really saying
Really?
that F. Murray Abraham is going to win outstanding supporting actor in a drama series? Really?
When he just played himself? Like, yeah, I don't really understand that, but if it came down to all of these gentlemen right here, it's Matthew McFadden's. I would give it to Alexander Skarsgård, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it's Matthew McFadden's.
I was gonna go with Alexander Skarsgård before I realized that I skipped over Matthew McFadden when I skimmed.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely Matthew McFadden.
But like
Um,
even Alexander was better this season than he was the last season, and we loved him in the last season.
if not for those two, is there somebody else you want to give this to? I mean, I know we love Succession a lot and we tend to lean that way. I do kind of love Alan Ruck being here, even though he feels like he should maybe even be in like a category below supporting.
He should
Like
be guest star.
he's yeah, right. Even though he is like a big part of
Eldest
Succession,
boy
but
award.
he's got like 2 lines in most episodes. But I really think he's excellent in that. Like if he wasn't guest actor, he might be my favorite. Um, any of the White Lotus men that you feel like has the best chance?
I don't know. I was gonna ask you, dude. Like they're good, but like, are they great? They're White Lotus feels more like an ensemble award
Yeah.
where they all collectively come together as opposed to being like, and that one person can compete against everybody else. I don't see that. I feel like there is a lot of other dramatic.
Yeah.
Sh- Dude, you're telling me that no one in that final season of
Better Call
Better Call
Saul.
Saul.
Yeah. Shoot, what's his name? Jonathan Banks, who
Like
played
this,
Mike very memorably and never
yeah,
won an Emmy for it on Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, doesn't get it. Giancarlo Esposito, who gave us another season of Gus Fring, doesn't get in. I forget the guy
exactly.
who played the lawyer character that they used to work that Saul used to work for, but he's excellent on that final season of Saul. Also, didn't get any nominations here. It just sucks because it feels like sometimes they want to award all their favorite actors from a show, and it's like SAG has the ensemble category. That's where something like
Yeah,
this should go, and then we get to talk about more than two shows when we talk about supporting actor.
right? Like you're telling me no one in The Crown after getting nominated so many times over. Not one dude in Yellow Jackets. Even House of the Dragon, zilch?
Yeah, Patty Considine,
What?
where are you, man?
That makes that man, yeah, especially him with every single episode just barely making it by. Hell, I'd give something to Andor. I don't know, dude. It made no sense to me. There's a couple of actors in The Last of Us who I don't know if they would consider guests, but if they were supporting, I could definitely see them being on here.
Mm-hmm.
I feel weird because to give the example of Matthew McFadyen and Sarah Snook, they are they have scenes where they go up against each other that really highlight both of their performances, but they also stand on their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Matthew McFadyen takes that plane scene with that happens in episode 3. Sarah
Yeah,
Snook has several moments where she's trying to juggle things. I don't see Theo James or Will Sharp being anything outside of each other. If they are not like playing off of each other, like they are not a complete nomination. They are two
yeah,
parts of a whole. Matthew McFadyen is a whole even as supporting. So is Sarah Snook. It just feels weird to me.
yeah.
Michael
No, that's
Imperioli, I
actually a
guess.
great.
If to answer your question, Michael Imperioli out of the bunch.
That was who I was going to say as well, because I feel like his performance stands apart the most, and
Yes.
that he's just got this gravitas towards him that he feels a little bit less like, it feels a little bit more like you could build a whole show around the Michael Imperioli
Thank you.
character, and less like you could for the rest of the characters on the show.
For sure. So that's those awards right there. Moving on to the last of the supportings, another stack. Dude, I don't ever remember them going 8 nominations, but that must just be me. I got a foggy mind there. A lot more White Lotus, some for The Crown, Succession, of course. You did get one Better Call Saul nomination there.
Yeah, Rhea Seehorn, that's my pick.
Really? Okay. Out of
She's,
everybody
I mean,
there.
she's really, really incredible on Better Call Saul. Kind of has been under the underrated heart of that show for several seasons, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the last season was necessarily her best showcase, but you know, I think that it's a performance that needs to be, or at least should be, acknowledged in some way, particularly like considering it's going up against just a swath of White Lotus women.
Five
It
White Lotus nominations.
it's crazy. J. Smith Cameron's another one in that Alan Ruck category of like, they should probably have
Yeah.
another, like maybe above guest actor but below supporting, like a reoccurring best reoccurring
Mm-hmm.
role, something like
I
that.
agree.
Um,
It also wasn't her strongest season, the last one. I love her, but it wasn't her strongest season, so I'm
no, it
surprised that
wasn't.
she's there. Do you feel like it's going to end up going to a White Lotus actress?
I would be surprised if it doesn't. I mean, we also will get into this a little bit more later, but White Lotus had a really good day in terms of nominations, and yeah,
Too good.
like the actresses are probably going to end up splitting a lot of the vote, but even with splitting the vote, there seems to be so much love for it that I still wouldn't be surprised to see them win. Is there somebody in particular that you think will win? Because I have a feeling that it's going to go to Jennifer Coolidge because she's
It
kind of
always goes
become
to her.
the face
Yeah.
of the show. But
And
I thought
especially
that
with
Megan
season 2.
Fahey was by
Thank you.
far my
I was
favorite
about to say.
performance of these.
Easily. She is the only one who has like an extra edge to every single line that she says. That
Hmm.
when you rewatch the entire thing and you realize what her whole outlook is on being there on that island, I think it
Hmm.
changes the entire way you look at her character way more than you do the other guys. So I agree with you there as well. That would have been my
I mean,
pick.
you should know we love it because it's a category with Aubrey Plaza in it, and we're not even
And
going with
we're not
that.
even mentioning her. Yeah, but she
Yeah.
was also good. She stood out more than the boys did. That's for sure. All right, moving on to the last guest actors before we start getting into some of the bigger overall categories. But wrapping up the acting, any of these guest
Succession and
nominees right
Last of
here.
Us across the
Look,
board.
I'm gonna go The Last of Us. Well, yeah, I'm gonna go The Last of Us. I have my
Which
Last of
one?
Us pick. Are you going for a Succession pick?
No, you go Last of Us first.
I'm going Lamar Johnson for The Last of Us. I think Nick Offerman offered up a lot. Obviously, so did Murray Bartlett. Murray
Hmm.
would be the one from a White Lotus one, huh?
Yeah,
Who I think also snatched one.
I'm pretty sure he did, right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. They
Yeah.
were great. They are fantastic. I don't mind it going to them. There's a look in Lamar Johnson's eyes when that scene happens. It is one of the very few moments between the game and the show when you were comparing both of them that I give the
Yeah.
edge to the show, to the series, and that's why I'm going to lock him in as a pick.
I want to
For
say
me.
this about the Nick Offerman Murray Bartlett episode of The Last of Us without like sounding dismissive, but like it's so
Wow.
tailor made for the guest actor Emmy that I almost like instinctively want to push back against them. Like it's a whole tragic love story baked into 60 minutes
Yes.
that centers on them. Like if there's no more guest Emmy role possible than something like that. So because of that, I maybe am just trying to push back. I'd also go with Lamar Johnson of all the Last of Us roles. I mean, I think it's really cool that Kevon got a nomination here, but it's Lamar who really, really carries that episode. And like you mentioned, that ending is so upsetting and disturbing, and it's hard to even like think about because of
Yeah.
how he reacts in those moments. So, of them, I'd give it to him. I kind of want to give it to my man
The
James
speech.
Cromwell
Of
here.
course. I know.
Yeah,
I know. Talk about it.
look,
That
yeah, he,
well, look, that's also an actual guest performance.
exactly right. Like, there's not a lot of performances here where it's like, okay, they came in and they took the show away
The
from
lead
these
for us for an episode, yeah. That's an
exactly
extra
like
category.
he's just like is able to shift the balance on the show so dramatically through his heft as an actor, through the
That's
weight that
very
he
fair.
carries in his voice. I
Uh-huh.
just really like James Cromwell, and I think he really knocked that speech out of the park. I go with that. And yeah, that to me, that's also the epitome of what this role should be. Like the person
Yes. No,
who
that's a great point.
steals an episode or two.
For sure. I would not argue against James Cromwell, and I would use the same arguments for Lamar Johnson. When that episode ends and what our main character sees, that's what changes Abby's whole outlook, or not Abby's, what's her name? Whole outlook
Ellie.
on Ellie's whole outlook on it. So I agree. That's what a guest performance should be, not someone who's coming in just to be lead actor for an episode.
Mm-hmm.
But wrapping it up, guest actress in a drama series. You got some Succession, Last of Us, Succession, and Last of Us. Who do you got?
Yeah. Uh, I would probably lean towards Succession here. Um, I don't know. I liked these performances from The Last of Us. Maybe Anna Torv's most of the three that are nominated.
Mm,
But I just think that both Chaim Abbas and Cherry Jones, and you know what? I'll throw Harriet Walter in there too. They're just so fully realized as characters from the moment they walk into a room. Ice Queens, the lot of them in their own specific ways. I I loved it. It's hard for me to pick between them. I think Chaim Abbas's performance has been overlooked a lot though in
that
the
has.
run of Succession. So maybe I go that way. Are you gonna go with Succession, or are you gonna go with one of the Last of Us women?
I would also go with Succession because I think they were Storm Reed and Melanie Linsky. I think really play like, and you're here for this moment, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Anna Torv, I think, did the best in terms of like she felt like she was gonna be there the entire time, and I completely forgot. Oh wait, that's not how the way the story goes, and they played
Right.
that very well. She was the best out of the Last of Us women. There's not enough Cherry Jones in the last season, in my opinion,
Yeah,
to be able to count it.
it's one fun one fun
Yeah,
episode, and she's even like not really there until the second half of it.
for sure. I agree with you with Hyam. It was the previous seasons though. I'm gonna give it to Harriet Walter because you know she had that killer line when they all
Mhm.
got together at the funeral. So it's got to be her
Absolutely.
for me.
Yeah, her performance at the funeral, her performance when they all visit her house at the final episode, she does a lot.
Yeah, no, It's got to be her. I also see her as supporting. I'm sorry, that's a supporting performance for me. If you're more than like 3 episodes, but those are all the categories for the acting. I don't think that there is actor and other do some short form, which I don't even know what
There's
counts as short
a
form or what's
in
there.
limited if you want to look at that because it's a kind of weird
Ooh,
collection of talent.
look at this real quick, bro. First of all, Die Hard. Isn't he just playing himself? Tim Robinson, you gotta give it to Tim Robinson. That's a fact
Absolutely.
right there. I see that they also had an actress version for the shorts. What the heck is Die Hard, and why is there two?
Is it a
Okay,
Roku thing?
I'm pretty sure it's on Peacock because he's got like 2 series on Peacock. I just confuse this talk show with what I guess is a narrative. You were telling me to look at Limited.
Limited anthology or movie?
Okay, we got some lead actors here. It says White Lotus again. Oh, all right. We got some new stuff. Actual limited things. Thank you, Emmys, for finally fixing this. Out of Blackbird, Chippendales. Chippendales, really? Okay. Dahmer, makes sense. Weird Al Yankovic. I don't like the movie nomination. I still think the
Yeah.
movie nomination should be on their own, but okay. George and Tammy and Beef. I think you know where I'm going.
Yeah, you're definitely going with Stephen Yun, aren't you?
Yeah, it's not even close. Are you going different?
I haven't seen Blackbird. I've heard Taron is very good on that show.
He's good, but what's his name is better?
Paul Walter Hauser.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And whenever there's a category with Michael Shannon in it, I'm tempted to lean his way. Although that's another show I haven't seen, George and Tammy.
Yeah.
For what
Showtime?
I've seen here, I'd probably go with Stephen Yun as well. I like him a lot on Beef. I thought Kumail is pretty good on Chippendales, but there's just a depth and
Mm-hmm.
originality to what we're getting from Stephen Yun that I preferred.
Evan Peters better not snatch that though, because I know people love what's his name who runs it is
Dahmer.
such a yeah. And what was the producer? What's his name? FX.
Oh,
He
Ryan Murphy. Yeah, his
he's got
shows
a
also tend to
stronghold.
do really well with the acting categories. Yeah.
Yes, they do. So I'm a little worried there, but it's Stevens in my opinion. In terms of actresses, ooh, your girl for Fleischman is in trouble. George and
Mm-hmm.
Tammy.
Lizzie Kaplan.
Uh, I'm gonna wrap it
Dominique.
there. I'm gonna wrap it there. It's Dominique Fishback Swarm for me.
You're not going to give any love to Ali Wong and
It's
Beef?
shout out Ali Wong. You did a great performance. But Dominique Fishback gave the best performance of this year. I'd have her competing with some of the leads, dude. Dominique Fishback for me.
This is just like a category full of some of our favorites, though. Like, I love Jessica Chastain. You mentioned I love Lizzie Kaplan.
Yeah, it's
Dominic
Lizzie, bro.
Fishback, we've been championing a lot. Catherine Hahn, everybody's favorite now, but I
Mm-hmm.
think we were there early. Riley Keough and Ali Wong as well. It's a really talented category.
We going Allie?
I'd go with Ali in this collection. Yeah.
All right. And we got supporting and limited as well. See,
Yeah, there's
you see
where
how much better it is when you get rid of the White Lotus.
Yep.
All right, dang. What Murray Bartlett again?
For Chippendales, yeah.
This man is everywhere. Okay. We had talked about Paul Walter Hauser. He had taken the Golden Globe for it as well. I think he is pretty good. And between the other guys, they were good supporters in Beef. Young Mazzino and Joseph Lee. I don't know. I'm a little up in the air. I guess I'm gonna go Paul Walter in this.
Yeah. I'd probably go Murray Bartlett. I thought he was good on Chippendales.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Hmm.
And then Love and Death for Jesse Plemons. I don't see the Love and Death hype when it was out, but we were also really close to Candy, so I can't fully give it there. In terms of supporting actress, we have some more Chippendales. I got to catch up on Chippendales then. Beef, Daisy Jones, Dahmer, and Tiny Beautiful Things. Ooh, I gotta finish Tiny Beautiful Things as well. I know that's the one that we had just mentioned with
Catherine Hahn.
Catherine Hahn. Is that the one that got removed, and now there's nowhere to watch it?
Oh, geez, I actually don't know about that.
There's a Catherine Hahn show when Max was removing a lot of things, and I think that may
Oh,
have been
no,
one
no,
of the
no. It's a
casualties.
different one. It's a
The
different one.
different one?
This is on
Okay,
Hulu.
that's on Hulu. But the
Yeah.
HBO Catherine Hahn thing, gone.
Yes.
I gotta catch that one then. If it's got Mary Weaver in it, also, she's one of
Yeah.
our favorites.
I
I've heard
haven't caught
great
a lot
things
of the
from
ones.
Nisha.
I haven't heard. I caught a lot of the ones in this category, so I'm gonna go with another Chippendales pick here because I like Annalie Ashford a lot on that show too.
Okay, I liked Beef. Maria Bello was playing Maria Bello, but I'm gonna have to go Claire Danes, and Fleischman is in trouble
Nice.
until she wins her next one next year for
Full
Full Circle.
circle.
All right, and I think that's it, or do they have some guests in here as well?
Uh, I think that's it.
Oh, okay. I think that's all of the acting right now. Time to go to the big ones. Who do you have winning the best comedy series at the Emmys? Abbott, Barry, Jury Duty, Only Murders, Ted Lasso, The Bear, Maisel, and Wednesday.
Did Ted Lasso win this one last year, or
I
was it
think it's
Abbott?
won enough, so I'm okay with it losing. I think it was
Well,
Abbott. If you're telling me this is Abbott too.
are you asking me who I think will win? I want to win.
Oh, I want both.
I'm trying to see. Okay, 2022 Emmy. Yeah, so Ted Lasso is the defending champion here, and obviously
Really?
there's still a lot of love towards it because it's nominated in several categories. It's its final season. I don't know.
Did win ill.
I know. I wouldn't be surprised to see it win again, but it's a very strong collection of
Wait, 3 for
challenges.
3?
The Emmys love Ted Lasso. Look how many acting nominees it got.
That's ridiculous, bro. It's true, but that's ridiculous.
That said, The Bear, it's never been up against The Bear. And The Bear has the benefit of having 2 seasons out there that people are really excited about. Maybe pulls the upset. I kind of want to go with The Bear here.
I want to go with the Bear as well. So
It's what I would vote for.
It's what I would vote for. I think that would make the Emmys look really dope because that feels like a very hefty hitter. And again, a little bit of category fraud that all of these comedies and you're picking the one that is kind of more a drama than anything else. But we'll lock it in. Wednesday, winning the Emmy for 2023. If Ted Lasso wins it, though, that'd be the most disappointing thing. I'm looking at every single possible winner here.
Yeah.
I'm not including Wednesday, but I do see Ted Lasso as being the one that might take it and it being like the most boring possible pick to get. And I feel would cause more hate to go its way. Because all it did was end and people were mad at it. It's like, but it's ending. So it winning an award out of someone's favorite show, yeah. Definitely not Barry, though. I think they've pushed Barry to the side a little too much. Really quick, in terms of some directing and writing for the comedies, any which way that you go, because when you get down to that nitty gritty, I would go for some of the Bill Hader direction that he was able to do in season 4, because he was able to play with some scary stuff. I know people were like, it's not scary, but I'm like, nah, but it's off kilter. I like how he's catching some traumatic moments in the daylight. Unsettling.
It's almost like Lynchian. Yeah. Like there's disturbing stuff in that last season of Barry. And especially, I think comedy, it's on TV. Sometimes there's like not that very like interesting direction in it. There are some good nominees here. Like The Bear is a really great, a brilliantly directed show. Obviously Wednesday you have Tim Burton on there as well. But I would, like you, give it to Bill Hader for directing on Barry. As for writing, I don't think I would give it to Barry among the nominees here. I would like to see it go either to The Bear or the other two. You know, other two it's not nominated. It's not nominated for that, but they are very funny and they got the nomination here. And not only it's for the Lucas Gage episode.
Oh, that's right. They do it per episode. Damn.
Yeah.
They should have that mentioned here. I guess it does. Carrying, bro. Go to the 8th place. That is a fantastic one.
Absolutely, 100% should win.
Okay, I am with you there. I'm gonna go with that one as well. All right, that is all the comedies. Let's do drama. In terms of the outstanding drama series for 2023, Andor, Better Call Saul, House of the Dragon, Succession, The Crown, The Last of Us, The White Lotus, and Yellow Jackets. Why are you going with Star Wars Andor?
I mean, I'm just dedicated to the larger Lucasfilms universe. Now, were you surprised at all to see Andor here? Just because those shows haven't done very well. I mean, I guess The Mandalorian has done okay.
It's the best one. Mandalorian got noms. Andor can get a nom.
Yeah, we still haven't talked about the Obi-Wan nom, but of the ones here, I would like to see Succession win for that final season. I still think that it's just an absolutely brilliant season of TV that has accomplished some things that I just don't think TV shows have accomplished, which makes me sad that I can't give a little more love to Better Call Saul, which I think is also an incredible show that was somehow able to wrap up its final season in a way that blew my mind. But yeah, by a slight edge, I'd give it to Succession here. Are you with me, or are you going to go with a different HBO show?
I don't think so. Then close. It has to be Succession. It would.
Then let me ask you a different question.
Tries to contend though.
Let me ask you a different question then, because HBO not only has Succession, they've got, as you mentioned, The White Lotus, The Last of Us, and House of the Dragon here.
It's half of
Uh,
them.
one show that is ending, three shows that are continuing. If you are HBO, what would you hope wins this category?
Succession.
You want it to go out with a bang? You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
hype up season 2 of The Last of Us with an Emmy win?
No, because Succession has nothing else. House of the Dragon has a whole book series, and it's a global phenomenon. The
Mm-hmm.
Last of Us is a video game series. It's going to be there regardless of. But Succession, I think, should go out with it completing its entire run. Has it won for each?
That's a good question. I think it has.
Because if Ted Lasso might go 3 for 3, in what world do we live in where Succession shouldn't go 4 for 4? It's also
Absolutely.
one of the very few series, bless Better Call Saul, but that didn't split A-B. And I
Mm-hmm.
gotta tip my hat off to that. So yes, Succession. Awards to the side. Would you put Succession above Better Call Saul's finale in terms of finale versus finale?
Um, that's really tough. It's really, really tough.
I gotta watch
I
Saul
think
then.
I think Succession was able to land the plane in a way that
Eh,
was extremely satisfying, but I think Better Call Saul, if anything, had the harder job because it's not just wrapping up Better Call Saul. In a way, it's wrapping up Breaking Bad too.
true.
And
Very
I
true.
just like no disrespect to the Succession finale, but it's like I just watched an incredible gymnastics performance by the writers at Better Call Saul. I don't know how
Yeah.
they were able to balance on that tightrope, but they did it.
Now, for reference, there is no episodes of Better Call Saul that are nominated for directing. Andor got one. Bad Sisters got one.
Absurd.
Even The Last of Us for a long, long time. But Succession did get one for America Decides, which that's the voting one. That's
Yeah,
the election night. Okay.
that's the election one.
Another one for Connor's wedding, which we'll leave that there. If you know, you know.
It's probably the
And
winner.
then Living Plus. I don't see it going to anybody else but Connor's wedding.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
it's the Goliath of this category. It's got to be Mark Mylod.
I'm pretty sure that's still sitting at like a 9.9 or something like that. It's a
Yeah.
ridiculous number.
Hey, shout out
And
though,
then
Bad Sisters cracking this category. That's pretty cool.
that's good for them. They didn't get the big nomination if I'm not mistaken, but they were able to
They
also
did
get
not.
some supporting, right?
Yeah.
And then the one White Lotus one is Arrivederci, which if I'm not mistaken is the finale.
Yeah, I
So,
believe so. Wouldn't make sense. Italian for
yeah.
goodbye.
Better Call Saul did get writing though. You have
Two.
2 episodes versus one. The writing on Point and Shoot sounds like a really good episode, and Saw Gone, which also sounds like a really good episode.
Yeah.
Competing against Succession's Connor's Wedding, which again is the writing in that specific episode going to be the standout? Will it go 2 for 2? Will they split it? It gets directing, and then maybe one of the songs gets that.
Yeah.
You also have Arrivederci nominated for Mike White, and then the Last of Us episode, long, long time. So they're really pushing that one right there.
Yeah, a little surprised we didn't get more than one Succession script here because the writing is so good
The
on
writing
Succession.
is very
but,
good. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Interesting. But Andor might sweep it all.
Yeah.
Other than that, that is all the comedy. That is all the drama. Unless you wanted to get into some reality stuff, I know you were really wound up on the game shows nominated this year, with Wheel of Fortune, Family Feud. I know there was no Holy Moly to be nominated this year. And then in terms of some of the other categories for variety, I think they're gonna start changing some things. Talk
Mhm.
series has been going to is it even on? Whoa. What happened?
What happened?
Where's the HBO guy?
Oh, they moved John Oliver to a different category.
That is BS.
He's in Variety Special Live, I think. No. Let me find it. I'll find it.
Bro, I just found him. Are you
Okay.
serious right now? Are you serious right now? I
I
had a
don't get it.
conversation. Now I have a dialogue. What the hell is going on here? This is category fraud to the max. What he does on Last Week Tonight is what these people are doing here. It is a talk series. What are you talking about? He does no more sketches than Jimmy Kimmel or any of these other people do. This is ridiculous. The Jon Stewart show is more variety.
Well, yeah, it's weird because it's like the shows that have interviews versus like the shows that don't, I guess. But that's such a weird
That's a
way
lie.
to distinguish between them.
That is lame. Does Jon Stewart always have interviews?
I think so.
That's so lame, dude. This is such a corrupt way to put it in here. For the longest time, we know that this is literally just there for Saturday Night Live to get an award.
Yeah.
Black Lady Sketch Show came in, and I found the most hilarious joke from a Black Lady Sketch Show was knowing that they would be nominated by default to compete with Saturday Night Live as a Black Lady Sketch Show. And to me, that is the funniest joke that that show has done, is knowing what they are in the landscape of award season. To put John Oliver in here just to have some competition with Saturday Night Live shows me two things. One, someone's got it out for Lorne Michaels. And two, they're not nominating enough quality stuff here. There is enough sketch shows that can come here. I don't care if they're so below. I think Lorne Michaels has made it so that nobody else can get nominated. And I think you heard what's on the horizon. Tina Fey is eyeing taking over Saturday Night Live.
Oh, I actually didn't hear about that.
She is eyeing the role. She saw Succession and she's waiting for this man to
There we
croak
go.
on his saliva. I would be very interested to see what she's able to do with Saturday Night Live after the fact, because right now this truly is it's the gatekeeper of everything.
Yeah.
Through comedy, through music even as well. I think back to The Weeknd's like most memorable bit, and it's Daniel Craig saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd." I think whoever ends up holding Saturday Night Live next is going to be the gatekeeper of a lot of comedy to come out, because it's really an outlier. Black Lady Sketch Show had Quinta on it, and Quinta always said she never got to host Saturday Night Live or be a recurring member, so she did her own thing, and now she's got Abbott.
Mm-hmm.
That's category fraud. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's tough because like there's just not that much competition in those categories, so it's literally just like an excuse to give Saturday Night Live more nominations.
Exactly.
Like LaShawn here in the live stream is asking, is Eric
Thank
Andre,
you,
Andre
LaShawn.
considered a sketch show? I don't
Thank
think
you.
so. I think it's considered a short form comedy show because the Eric Andre
Boo.
episodes only go about 15 minutes. Similar with I Think You Should Leave. Like me, what they need to do is combine those sketch series with the short form stuff like Carpool Karaoke and I Think You Should Leave into one larger category, so that it's not just like Black Lady Sketch Show gets the nom by default and then has to make sketches about that.
I guess, man. All right. So then you have what is pre-recorded, what is live. I guess they're all kind of the same. Selective Outrage was live, but then it got kind of pre-recorded and edited. I guess I'm giving it to John Mulaney. I think maybe Lizzo can clear things out by then and fix things, but John Mulaney, Baby J, was great.
We didn't do a limited anthology series or television movie.
Where's that?
The third column to the left.
All right, the third column. You're done with all the reality, short form, and variety?
I think so. I mean,
game
I don't know
show
about you, but I
structure.
don't have that much to say about Top Chef.
Beef, Dahmer, Daisy Jones, Fleischman, and Obi-Wan Kenobi nominated for best limited or anthology series.
What's that doing?
It's beef for me. It's beef for me.
Yeah, it's beef for me as well, and actually kind of like without much question, I think that this is a surprisingly weak category considering there's a lot of great limited series out there. I'm surprised that I'm not seeing more of them here. Swarm could have been in here instead of just in Dominique Fishback's nomination. Even Chippendales, which got a few acting nominations, could have been here as well. Rest in peace to all those Marvel shows. I guess they are getting blank despite putting as much money as they do into She-Hulk and whatever.
I feel like Loki was finagling itself into like a miniseries, and now it's got season 2 coming out. So yeah, they should be left out in the cold. They did finally separate television movie to be its own thing, and it no longer even gets broadcast. But Zach, between one of your favorites, Dolly Parton's Mountain Magic Christmas, Fire Island, that's an interesting one. Hocus Pocus 2, Prey, and Weird, the Al Yankovic story from Roku, giving Roku, Tubi, and Freevee, all free advertiser streaming platforms, their first nominations this year.
Yep.
What do you have as your pick? Oscars here.
Yeah, it feels weird having the Hulu movies here, but I guess that makes sense.
If they're not getting theaters, yeah.
Yeah, those two are probably my favorites in the category. I might go Prey over Fire Island, but I wouldn't be upset with Fire Island taking it.
I'll go Prey as well. We talked about some of the performances for these, so I think the last thing to get to would be some of the directing, writing, and then just wrapping up with
Yeah.
us not knowing when these are going to come out. But it did get some writing between Beef, Dahmer. It's so funny to me that a series that's 356 minutes is going up against a 90-minute movie, but
Right.
nonetheless, that's what they have there. And then the same thing for when it comes for writing. Swarm did get some writing,
Yeah, so that's
but then that's
that instead of Atlanta is Donald Glover's only nomination this year.
wow, that's lame.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't give it to the episode that Obama wrote. So there is that right there. And then your
Yep.
host and everything else that they've got going for them here. But overall, that is our rundown of the 2023 Emmy nominations. We don't know when they're going to be streamed, but some fun facts as we had it with Succession versus White Lotus. Succession broke the record for 3 leads in one category. So that is like an Emmys milestone that they haven't had in the past. I was mentioning the first for the AVOD streamers. Freebie had Jury Duty that got the nomination. Tubi got the Nevers. This is interesting. I remember this show being on HBO Max. As one of the tax write-offs that they did, they
Right?
threw this show off of HBO Max, put it onto Tubi for its new season, and thus it got a nomination, giving Tubi their first show. But what's funny is this is this is a Josh Whedon original. So Josh Whedon has an Emmy nomination through Tubi. So boy's still kicking. Succession has a total of 27 nominations. The Last of Us is the first video game adaptation nomination, if I'm not mistaken, giving HBO a whopping 127 nominations in total for the Emmys. They were supposed to be
Easy.
streamed September 18th. They are not because of the writer's strike. We had talked about some of the WGA talks that were happening early on in the year. We knew they were going to do it right in May, where, as we mentioned, a lot of these shows wrapped up. Kind of a difficult moment to say that the writers are about to go out when some of the best writing is being delivered. I think they should have timed it right for June. If y'all would have timed it exactly at its peak for HBO's The Idol, you would have had so many more supporters.
Yeah. So I was actually reading up on that because I was thinking about that after our last discussion about the guilds. That apparently it is an intentional tactic from the AMPTP, where the ends of the different guild deals are all sort of aligned
Yeah.
to be one after the other
Disruptive.
as a way of sort of leaning on the other guilds. The way that they've reached a deal with the Directors Guild, and it sort of put the other guilds in worse situations. So
Mm-hmm.
like that, while the idea of collaboration is totally like cool, and like maybe like if we do get this like hot labor summer that Christian Smalls and people keep talking about, like we can work on that. But in reality, like it ends up being this tactic to try and every guild is fighting for their own piece of the pie. So sometimes it ends up being that they don't have that cross collaboration between the writers and the directors and the actors, although we are seeing the like wave of strikes infect some other aspects of the industry. I don't know if you saw the news that some Marvel VFX artists are planning to unionize as
One of the
well.
biggest people who need it, yeah.
Absolutely, which is a huge unprecedented step for the industry, because one of the main reasons why we're seeing so much increasing use of CGI is because those VFX artists are not unionized, and they are then more
Terrible.
exploitable for the big industries. I don't know if you also saw that some reality TV stars are trying to unionize.
Really?
Yeah, there's a new
Okay.
report coming out based on the treatment of some stars on Bravo properties, that they're
Oh, easily.
looking to join SAG-AFTRA as well. Which, given the way that reality TV in particular has been used as a cudgel against the writers, and as a way to sort of intimidate different parts of the industry with a potentially cheap replacement product. If reality TV joins the unionization efforts, that would be a big blow for the
It's
Hollywood
huge.
studios.
Huge, because right now when the strikes happened, they told the writers, well, we don't need writers if we're just going to be doing reality TV. Oh, actors, you want to go there? We'll pick anybody up the street who's willing to do the most salacious things for reality TV. That would be the best blow. Because like you're saying, that solidarity needs to come from everybody involved. When you just throw the others to the side, it doesn't help. Like you had brought up the IATSE stuff. A lot of their strike efforts last year didn't fully go through. They knocked out a deal that didn't really help a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
We know how big actors can be and writers, and we're standing with them, of course, but they're above the line. It's a lot of the below the line people who always get looked at the other way. When it came to IATSE, they didn't have somebody else to fall on because it was a whole other
Mm-hmm.
year before those contracts were done. Right now, the WGA and the actors get to like kind of brush off of each other and kind of come together in order to be able to hold a deal. But yeah, I think the more those other networks or groups are able to come together, that's also going to help. I know another big point was the realization of influencers who are also
Mm-hmm.
now also able to get SAG AFTRA deals, because we've looked into that. And the way that they have it held up is that you are damn near a performer. You are making your own commercials if you sponsor your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're running a VH1, here's what happened in the 90s thing, but you're doing it yourself. And they opened it up because, well, that's 20%. That's 20% the union can get from you if you're making work that's outside of the sphere that is Hollywood. And in that came a lot of discussions on, are you able to take jobs with a studio if you're not in a union? And I'd put it as simple as this: as you and I, who work adjacent to the industry, I think one of the best
Mm-hmm.
quotes that we had out of South by was, "How do you make it into an industry and not get revolved in it?" Or like swallowed by it. And it was Tilda Swinton who said, don't work for the industry, just work within the industry, or something like that. And we don't get paid by studios. And if you're dealing with a question of like, are you going against the strike? Just ask yourself, is the studio paying you? And if
Right.
they are, chances are you are. If they're not, then you're straight. And that's the big deal right now, is that they're looking to circumvent the people who they're not paying with cheaper labor. And I always
Ex-
think of writers, like journalists. When
mm-hmm.
you have Screen Rant, a lot of these article companies who are willing to pay you pennies on the dollar. What is it, like $100 for 20 articles? If someone else takes that job instead of them paying who they need to. I think of the AV Club. They forced everybody to move to California. And if they didn't want to, they were going to pay them way less. And other people came in out of college to take those roles, not realizing, no, dummy, at a certain point, you're going to want that seniority. You're going to want, that tenure. And you
Mm-hmm.
just undercut them. So the next person's just going to undercut you and undercut you and undercut you. And I think that's what's become the big debacle right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually well into the third month of the writers' strike, and the actors obviously joined them a little bit after that, and they've been on strike for a little while as well. But the AMPTP has not reopened negotiations. There was like a brief moment where it sounded like they were going to, and then very quickly they reversed course on that,
Reschedule?
and they're
Yeah.
not negotiating anymore. But
Scummy.
it's yeah, I mean, it's they've taken the tactic, and there's I'm going to quote an article that was released that the AMPTP then denied, but they're taking the tactic of waiting until people start losing their homes and being unable to afford rent and are unable to put food on the table, and get desperate enough to take a deal that they know is not necessarily in their best interest. And it seemed, I think, the tenor of the discussions seems to be that people realize this is really like a very critical turning point moment.
Moment, yeah.
We've had these moments with the various strikes in that the industry changes, and these are moments where we can sort of where labor at least can collectively put certain lines in the sand. And I think everybody recognizes just how fraught the potential future for a lot of these creatives are. And a lot of people have made this point, and it's worth making again, that these labor negotiations are not really about the Ryan Murphys or the Shonda's or the big name writers, and they're also not about the big name actors, the people who like Colin Farrell or whoever who show up on the picket lines and make a lot of headlines for showing up. It's about the supporting players and the bit players and the people who not aren't necessarily the showrunners but are the staff writers on the shows that you love, who are not necessarily able to make a living wage in those sort of supporting roles. There was an interesting statistic came out about the SAG membership, because SAG provides you with health, or it
Health
has health
insurance.
insurance benefits,
Yeah.
but only if you reach a yearly income threshold of $26,000, which 87% of SAG members do not reach that threshold. So a lot of people who are actors or working actors aren't even able to make the minimum to qualify for health insurance under the current conditions.
So how do you feel about that then? That the union also has that hold on you?
Hold in what sense? That like you're obligated to making that much? Or
If you make 25, they still take 20%.
do you know if it's they take 20%? I think it's just annual dues.
2-0. That was
um
what was on the influencer one. Because you are getting the jobs through the union. They are siphoning, they're going through the entire, every single work that you get. That's what ends up getting applied into your dues.
I thought it was annual dues though, which is separate than like an agent fee, which would be like 20%. I mean, like, look, that's like any other. That's how we have set up health insurance in this weird country where
In
it's taken out of
America,
your
for sure.
yeah, taken from your salary anyway. So it's a huge for people like actors particularly who spend a lot of time between jobs and don't have the reliability of like, oh, I'm actively working right now to cover my health insurance. That stuff is essential in order to like build a life. And
100.
$26,000 is a much lower threshold than I think a lot of companies are willing to that are that cover health insurance as well. So like,
But
yeah,
if it's
I mean,
87% of actors who are under your union who can't get that, I'm pretty sure there's 2% of actors making well more than $26,000. So are we saying that that rule from the union needs to be shifted to people, producers not hiring enough people? Can't the union just drop that lower? I feel that there are dues being paid by much wealthier people. I'm just saying. I feel like we could fix the scenario from within as well as also making sure that
right.
the
I mean, look, I
residuals
don't have
from
the
the
I don't
producers.
have SAG's books in front of me. I don't know how much it'll cost and how much they pay. And like, you can keep your SAG membership even if you're not necessarily like the most active person. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are in SAG who also are working full-time jobs that they get their health insurance through because they only get like one commercial a year or
Teachers, yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
for
So
sure.
like there's lots of different aspects to it, but like union protections are essential for an industry like this because that thing that you mentioned that's eating apart writers, where individuals are accepting lower and lower uh, uh, commissions for their work. Like that's the kind of thing that makes it impossible to build a life in a creative industry, and it's only through collective bargaining that people are able to raise those rates. So
Mm-hmm.
even if there are faults to joining a union, it's the only thing that's going to be able to ensure that any of these people have a full-time job in the future. The studios are
For
working
sure.
their hardest to try and make that not a possibility.
At this point, with the route that they're going of starving them out, all of the above the line people, like you mentioned, they'll be good. They have enough.
Yeah.
But at what point are you causing that 87% that you said to grow and grow and grow? Because it was not 87% in '08 when they went on another writer's strike. We could talk theoreticals.
Yeah.
We could also talk, the studio has already had a whiteboard of numbers, and it does sound like they are starving them out, like they're saying.
Yeah, and the studios are now responding by saying that because they're not going into production on all these various films and TV shows because of the strike, that they're going to be reporting profits because they're not spending money. But at a certain point, as a studio, like if you're not making product, you don't have a job for even these executives. At a certain point, you need to be making things to be in the industry of making things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, everybody's going to have a tipping point, and there's lots of different things that influence that. The need of actors and writers to work jobs to put food on the table is one thing, although every creative person I know is very industrious and has all sorts of ideas for side gigs and stuff like that. So I don't think that's going to be a huge pressing issue the way that maybe the studios are expecting it to be. I do think that there are larger factors coming into play here. Uh, I believe that LA city government has been putting more pressure on the AMPTP because there's less production happening, which means that the economy is being stimulated less in LA, and things like that. Ultimately, I think are going
Ripple
to be
effects.
bigger levers to pull than the ones that are just happening at the bargaining table, right? It's going
Yeah.
to be other industries coming in and joining in the boycott efforts and stuff like that. Or not that boycotts have started yet, but in strike efforts. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know how it's all going to resolve, but I don't think that the studios can just keep kicking the can down the road forever. Some of them have stockpiled content, but it's not going to be stockpiled for that long, and they're gonna have to get ready for next year's summer movie season because those movies aren't ready.
Do you think it's been a bigger hit than what COVID ended up doing just a couple of years ago and seeing the effects of that? Because even something like
Yeah,
Oppenheimer and such, those are COVID filmed movies. Or do
right.
you think that that pause already helped them to prepare for this?
With the studios, you mean? I mean, yeah, I
I
do
think
think.
they're conniving. I think they're scummy.
Yeah, no, I think that the COVID pause definitely like taught studios a lot of the tricks that they're using now. I mean, it helped them establish a lot of the rules, like small writers' rooms that the Writers Guild are fighting against, in particular, or not having writers on set and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that maybe COVID was like good training for having um a gap in content, sure, but you know, at some point it's got to give. I don't know. I'm sure they're going to end up meeting in the middle. That's how all negotiations end up playing out. I don't really get the feeling that either side is going to be the first one to make the move, at least right now.
Yeah, it's a succession thing. It's compromise. If you both leave happy,
Yeah.
then it's not good. We had talked about reality series and how that's been a big kind of shift that they've been doing. Max now is just filled with so much garbage. Every TLC, like Home Good, like I don't need all of these shows in the rundown for every new monthly thing, but that's definitely what they're pushing.
Hmm.
Netflix, that's a big thing that they're pushing. Besides reality TV, these are strikes happening here in the US for narrative content. But if you film outside of the states, is it not free game?
Well, it just depends on whether or not you're going to do a guild production, like stuff like Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, which largely films across Europe. That's all still within American production standards, and they use SAG contracts in order to hire actors and stuff like that. So all that stuff
That's
can't get
pause.
around it. That all that stuff is paused now. Stuff like the films that are going to con that come from various different industries, like I don't think the French film industry is paused.
No.
LaShawn is telling us that productions have stopped in the UK as well, but I think there's a little more crossover between our talent pool and their talent pool.
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think they are doing um, I think they are still doing some stuff in the UK as well, as long as it doesn't fall under SAG and WGA guidelines. Since those are, you know, American guilds, probably Canada too is got some stuff going on, and well, maybe we're gonna see a lot more of those like pop TV sitcoms like Schitt's Creek get picked up by Netflix in the future. Netflix in particular, which has such a wide global reach, has all these
Massive.
Korean shows in particular that they produce. It has
Well,
all
that's
that
what I
to
was
lean on
mentioning.
in the
Yeah.
meantime.
I did see this.
The
Wrong one.
union thing, or no,
No,
your
sorry,
thing. There
this
we
one
go.
right here. Yeah.
Yeah,
That House of the Dragons was still going to keep going
yeah.
because they were somewhere else.
Uh, that's bizarre, but
So
I
that
don't
was
know.
my only thing because other than this, there was the Korean shows that you had mentioned where it's like just as long as they're outside of it, it's okay. And then on top of that, you would have the A24 stuff as well, where
Yeah.
A24 is, I guess, good in their books, so they're not counting them. I'm trying to pull that one up right now. And so they're going to continue to be able to film because they are under the standards of what they need to be.
Yeah, well, so maybe because for the House of the Dragon, at least they're going through UK laws rather than through US laws. So that would definitely give them
That's a
a loophole
loophole.
for some of that stuff. But again, like
Yeah.
they I know they're not the writers aren't working on it, which is a whole other obstacle.
That yeah, that's very confusing at that
Yeah,
point as well. But then, like we were saying, some productions companies, if as long as they've been like I don't know one on one
yeah.
with them, have been able to also get the okay from SAG, and I do think that's where it gets
Oh yeah,
tricky.
there's also the productions that have been given the okay to keep filming amidst the strike, notably a lot of A24 productions that have agreed to all the terms of the WGA and SAG. Um, they've been allowed to continue production. Although I've seen, like, there was one Viola Davis movie that got put into production that she then walked off of because, there's this argument developing on whether or not it hurts the strike efforts to work on even those strike approved productions.
Yeah. So I, I don't know. I think at that point you are kind of leveraging it in different ways, and are you just going to want to is Fox not allowed to make anything, but Fox Searchlight can make
Yeah.
something? I don't know what the rearranging would be there because again, especially with being able to take things out and outsource them
Yeah.
elsewhere, that they are allowed to continue. I just see a lot of loopholes for the studios to continue doing their thing, while a lot of writers won't be able
Yeah.
to work. And what will they come back to? The more that they continue to use AI at the beginning of Marvel shows, AI for a lot of scripts.
Yeah.
I
We'll
mean, I
see
think it's a
if
lot more in place.
we'll see
Not to
if
be
that
grim about
gets
it, but you got to be
yeah,
real.
how much of that gets negotiated out in the next in whatever deal they reach. By the way, I did want to just circle back to the SAG after thing because I the number sounded a little not sure to me. It's a annual due of $231.96 and then 1.575% of earnings up to $1 million. So it's not 20%.
How much?
1.575% of earnings of covered earnings up to $1 million.
So then any of the rich actors should pay for everyone's health insurance.
I mean, I think that's how a lot of it ends up working because they end up getting they're
Not
paying
if it's
percentage
87% of
wise.
people who don't have their health insurance. I want to see these actors wearing pins at no award show then.
I did see that a lot of actors are making donations to
Oh,
the strike funds. I'm sure they can afford a
oh,
little bit more, but
oh.
The Rock gave his $1 million.
Hey, that's actually pretty respectful because he did not get his DC show that he wanted. He was in the Kevin Hart show, by the way, the one that didn't get nominated for an Emmy. Talking about how he wasn't able to get that. So
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna keep abreast of the situation. I'm sure there's gonna be lots of developments. Maybe we'll find another. If a lot of things develop, we'll find another time to get back into discussing updates, and if they come to an agreement, maybe we can break that down as well. But I think that's about all for this installment of Intercut. Unless you got anything more.
no, just keep an eye out for a lot of these TV shows that are on the horizon. Some of the Emmy ones that will have follow up seasons. I'm looking to catch up on some of the ones that I did not get to see. And it looks like we're going to have a little bit more time than September. So maybe I will be able to finish Better Call Saul before the Emmys.
There we go. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that's about it for this edition of Intercut. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd at Zshevich, ZSHEV as in vote, ICH, and check out my YouTube or TikTok channels at Multiplex Show. Art, where can people find more from you?
You can find me over at LME Movies on Instagram, Twitter. I think Threads is a thing. Oh, I think it's called X now. Or every week
Yeah.
here on YouTube where it stayed the same name.
You can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Pocket Casts is a new one that's showing up on our statistics. Whatever you like, I like Overcast. And then make sure you subscribe not just to the audio version of the podcast, but to the video version as well. to on youtube.com/intercutpod, where you can catch our perplexed and troubled faces as we break down the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of the Intercut Weekend Must Watch streaming on our YouTube channel. We're usually doing that every Monday, but please leave us a comment, like the videos, and consider heading over to iTunes to give us that much requested 5-star review. If we can get to 250 5-star reviews on iTunes, Art and I will come to your house and pick it outside it, just like the writers and actors. I got my my sign already. Maybe you need to come up. We can come up with some slogans later. Maybe we'll ask the Intercuties for some help for our best Intercut strike slogans.
I
Shout
agree.
out to our listeners in Canada for putting us on the film review podcast charts out
Hey!
there. Like our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, our TikTok, even our Patreon. You can find all those pages at Intercut Pod. To get updates throughout the week from Art, from me, from all the guests we feature on Intercut. Support the show for as little as $1 a month on Patreon, and you get access to some cool behind the scenes benefits and an invitation to our monthly patron hang. And also, check the link to our Discord in the description to keep the conversation going throughout the week. But thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, we strike
At midnight.
We strike at midnight.